Breaking news for you today. It is Thursday, February 5th, 2026, and the game is finally changing for the skies over Ukraine.
Big change.
It really is. We have confirmation that Ukraine is receiving the Tridon Mk2 air defense system, and that this isn't just another aid package. This is a dedicated Shahed killer.
Specifically designed for that threat.
If you believe in supporting Ukraine, freedom, and justice, please take a second right now. Subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. Join me in the latest program by Defense Report for the latest in global defense news, military technology, and strategic developments. And today we're going to cover a fascinating joint procurement.
A really interesting one.
Sweden and Denmark are teaming up to solve what might be the single most expensive problem of this war: the missile poverty trap.
It's great to be here. And looking at the reports, missile poverty is exactly the right term for it. For years, we've seen this brutal economic asymmetry play out. You have Russia launching these waves of Shahed or Giran drones. They're basically what? Cheap, loud, flying lawnmowers costing maybe $20,000 a piece.
And the data has always shown that the cost to defend against them is just completely lopsided. To stop one of those, Ukraine has been forced to use interceptors like a Patriot or an Iris-T.
Which can cost millions.
That's right, millions.
Exactly. And strategically, that's just a losing formula. You can't sustain it. You burn through your limited high-tech stock on these, trash targets.
Leaving cities vulnerable to the actual high-end threats like ballistic missiles.
Precisely. The Tridon Mk2, well, it's the answer to that math problem. It lets Ukraine stop using a Ferrari to chase a garbage truck.
Let's dive into the hardware, because on paper it sounds almost too simple. We're talking about a Bofors 40mm autocannon, basically a naval gun, mounted on a civilian Scania truck.
And that simplicity is the whole point. The logistics reports I've seen highlight that because it's on a commercial chassis, things like maintenance and spare parts in Ukraine are going to be infinitely easier.
Much easier than for a complex, tracked military vehicle.
Right. But the real tactical key here is what the operational guidelines call shoot and scoot.
Which is absolutely vital on the current battlefield. We've seen that staying stationary for any length of time is just a death sentence.
It is. With the sheer amount of Russian counter-battery radar and FPV drones everywhere, you have to fire and move immediately.
So the Tridon can do that.
It can rip off a burst of fire and be driving down the road before the empty shell casings even hit the asphalt. It makes it incredibly hard for Russian artillery to get a lock on them.
Okay, now, I was looking at the ammunition schematics, and this is where the tech gets really impressive. It's not just flinging dumb metal into the sky.
No, not at all. This is the real differentiator.
This system fires 3P ammunition.
That's right. 3P stands for pre-fragmented, programmable, and proximity fused. As the shell leaves the barrel, the system's fire control computer programs it.
So it doesn't even need to hit the drone directly.
It doesn't, which is crucial. Trying to get a direct hit on a small, weaving target is a nightmare. This is much smarter.
So it's more like a localized shotgun blast in the sky.
In a way, yes, but a very, very smart one. It's programmed to detonate at the perfect moment near the target, creating this cloud of over 1,100 tungsten pellets.
And for a drone made of plastic and fiberglass, that's devastating.
It's guaranteed to shred its aerodynamics, its engine, its electronics. It just replaces the need for pinpoint accuracy with overwhelming lethal volume.
The financial side of this deal is also pretty significant. We aren't looking at old stock being cleared out of some warehouse.
No, and that's the aha moment in these documents. Sweden is putting up about 2.1 billion kroner. Denmark is adding another 480 million. That's what, around 290 million US dollars?
A major
A
investment.
huge one. But the critical detail is that these are new production units. This shows Europe is shifting from just donating old gear to funding industrial scale production specifically for Ukraine's needs.
There is one spec we should probably clarify, though. The BAE Systems sheet I have here claims a 12-kilometer range. Is that realistic for engaging a drone?
That's where you have to be careful with manufacturer specs versus, physics. Yes, the shell can travel 12 kilometers, but it takes about 45 seconds to get there. In combat, 45 seconds is an eternity. If the drone simply turns, you miss. The effective engagement range for a target like that is much closer to 3 to 5 kilometers.
That still provides a good defensive bubble, though,
Yeah.
especially since it integrates with the Saab Giraffe 1X radar.
It does, and that gives it 360-degree awareness out to 75 kilometers. So
Yeah.
while they might shoot at 3 to 5 clicks, they are seeing and tracking that threat long before it gets close.
It really feels like a much more sustainable long-term shift in European defense strategy.
It is. But it does leave you with a final thought to ponder. If Europe is finally ramping up this kind of industrial production for Ukraine in 2026, are we actually looking at the future of air defense for all of Europe? Well, these kinds of budget solutions, these drone killers, they might just become the standard shield for every city on the continent, not just Kiev or Lviv.
A fascinating point. You've been listening to Defense Report by Alex, where we analyze the latest in military strategy, global defense, and advanced weaponry. Subscribe to Defense Reports, your trusted source for timely, in-depth military and defense analysis. We'll see you next time. Keep supporting us so we can continue bringing you the latest developments from Ukraine and around the world.